Ready to go live.
Don't do this no more, please.
Are you talking to your kid? I'm putting on lipstick. You're talking to your kid.
And I'm basking in the glory of my child being not home. I know.
Yes. Bless you and bless his heart.
Of the mom entrepreneur.
Dear God, it is a freedom over here. Freedom to speak without being like, no, I won't wipe your butt.
There's no wiping butts in the next 45 minutes or however long. This might only be
wiping butts.
Wait, Sade, can you turn up your volume one more time? Because I just feel like I need to hear your luscious voice.
Yes.
Better. Hi, everyone. I can see there's people joining. We're just shooting the shit over here. Hi, everyone. Oh, my gosh. The collab for the revolution is here.
Yes.
Yes, welcome everyone. So I'm Kiki Lovelace. These are my friends and sisters and beloveds, Jay and Sade. And Sade reached out to me and Jay. I don't even know what happened. I think Sade reached out to Jay like a week ago and me and was like, we need to pump them all up. We need to pump up the ladies on our feed. We need to tell them why it's important that they make the cash money. Is this accurate, Sade?
Correct. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, always.
Yes.
Sade, is there anything else you want to share about your original vision for this conversation that's about to happen?
Sure. So I feel like one of the things that happens in entrepreneurship in the online space is that we start seeing women reach big numbers and big audiences, and we start putting ourselves in like a separate basket from them, and we start feeling like, oh, maybe that's for her and not for me. And I remember feeling confused about how women were getting results and feeling separate. And like they must be doing something different. They must have more space on their credit card than I do. They must have a loving and supportive husband, or they must have something that I don't have that is making it more possible. So I wanted to round us all up because I feel like we're all real women living real lives. And also having big success in our business. So I wanted to put real faces to some success that lets women know that not only is it accessible, but you can have it too.
Woo! Pump session.
I'm dripping sweat already.
So before we move forward, I know there's going to be some people in this audience that are watching live. I can see Ashley's here, Maureen's here. Hi, everybody. And I know there's going to be some people watching on the replay that don't know all of us. So I thought it might be useful for each one of us to intro ourselves. And just if you could say, I know Sade, actually, and Jay and I have all in the last year or two shifted our message and shifted how we're doing things. And so, the three of us met together in Jessica Riverson's mastermind maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say 3 years ago. But all three of us have evolved our message and our work with our clients. And so I actually just want to know what y'all are doing right now. So Jay, do you want to tell us about who you are and what you do with your people?
Yeah. It feels like it's an ever evolving. So if you go to Instagram and you look at my bio, it literally changes every week because I can't keep up. I'm like, whoa, because the more I learn, the more I integrate it into what I'm doing. And so right now I'm all about feminine embodiment. And I'm like, why haven't we been running business this way, in a way that feels good, in a way where it's like, some weeks you want to show up and then some weeks you want to be introverted. And so right now, what I'm teaching my clients who are also spiritual entrepreneurs, moms, not moms, it doesn't matter. What I'm teaching them is the success that they can have is not based on degrees or certificates or anything, but it's the belief of you using your gift to create programs and services you're genuinely excited about, and you can offer in a way that feels like I don't even care if anyone signs up for this. This feels so good. And then from there, that's when the money flows. So that's what I'm doing now, but it's bringing in like way more spirituality and feminine, but integrated with the masculine, and way less like, I make it clear there's rarely any PDFs. There's rarely any like solid, hard hitting things. It's a lot of reconnecting to your body and the safe, and like feeling really safe. Because I think, Sade, what you were saying about women are like, oh, they must be doing something different. What I think is that women who are able to receive large amounts of money have done foundational work on their root chakra, which allows them to receive safely. Because when I hit my first 50K month, I had a full-on panic attack, and I did not feel comfortable receiving that money. I was like, whoa, 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 stop, stop, stop. I'm not ready for this. And then I had to evolve into a different level. And then it became safer and safer to receive large amounts of money. And now that it clicked, it's like, it's not that I have something different. It's that I am embodying what I'm teaching. And I think when you walk the talk, I want to say it's easy, and some days it is, and some days it's not. But I just think continual evolvement and feeling okay to keep shifting things within your business feels really feminine to me, and it feels really good.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. Sade, what the heck are you doing right now? I'm just dying to hear what's up in your world.
Yeah, what am I up to? So, I got my degree at Columbia University, and then I went on to do my master's at Tulane, where I studied how fathers impact their future relationships with their daughters, and how that impacts their daughters' interactions with men, money, themselves. Wrote the book, did the TED Talk. I spent a really long time, like deep in the trenches with the feminine, like 13 years, on the father wound in particular. And what I found while I was in there, and the process of what actually created healing for women in this space, was the reclamation of femininity and letting go of their toxic masculinity, the things that we have to do to pick up, to protect and provide for ourselves when dads abandon us. And in that space, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is so much more than healing daddy issues. This is about women remembering their power. And so now there's been this big transition into training women to be priestesses and
so awesome.
Teaching women how to pray and connect to their bodies, and having an incredible time with it, and really loving the work shift. It's like, instead of inviting women in because of the pain point, it's inviting women in to the, I feel like, the power point, no pun intended. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, well, I want to speak to like my shift, and
yes,
my
please.
evolution as well. So my name is Kiki Lovelace, and I am a business mentor, time abundance, and money mentor to my 6-figure plus business owner clients who are ready to scale to multi-6 and 7 figures, and do it without sacrificing, their family, their alone time, their health, their spirituality, their nervous system. I'm really all about angst-free relationships with money, and relationships with growth, and relationships with being in the continual up level of like serving at higher and higher levels. And yeah, my background is, I was a Pilates and yoga teacher for forever, and a teacher trainer. I just recently retired as a forest yoga guardian and lineage holder. So really my background is more in embodiment and spirituality. But I did open my first business, my Pilates and yoga studio that I'm sitting in right now in Berkeley, California, back in about a decade ago in 2011. So I still own the studio. I also grew my online coaching business, which is how I met these wonderful humans. And and so we're here to pump y'all's up today about essentially like the big why, like why we want you to make as much money as possible. And I think all three of us have some different takes on this, like that have to do with both the individual healing that happens when you actually start to claim your desire for more money and actually start to like make it real in your life, but also because I think all three of us understand that when money is in our hands, it actually goes out into our communities in some really powerful ways, right? And that we truly believe that the more women and light workers and marginalized, traditionally and currently marginalized and oppressed people that have money in their hands, extra money, like more money, then the more we can move our society and our planet a fucking long.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. You know, like looking back, and I know Kiki, we've talked about this before, but like looking back when I was a yoga teacher, and it was like that mindset of like, no, I do this out of service. I do this out of joy. Who am I to get paid to teach something that I would lovingly do for free? Your broke self can't support other people. And so when you step into like real money, real wealth, you can support so many different groups, and you could offer scholarships. You can then decide to take on a client for free because you're not worried about your own bills getting paid. So really making more money is about you getting to serve like the groups and the communities that you're truly passionate about. And I just think like, you know, and also it doesn't have to start when you start making a ton of money. Like it can start when you're making $1,000 a month and you give $50 to this. And then with that $50 spent to like, I love St. Jude's, like all the, you know, it's one of my faves, one of my favorite, you know, places to donate. And even when I didn't have any money, I was donating like $10. And I feel like that always, any volunteering opportunities, any donating opportunities makes you feel so freaking good. And it just comes back time and time again. So making more money isn't about being up here and being like, and now I'm going to spend it on my yacht. And you can spend it on your yacht if you want, but you also can help more people when you're making more money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I feel like what's interesting about the three of us, and Sade and I were talking the other day over a Zoom chat about how as our work has evolved more and more, and all three of us started out in like different niches. You know, when we first met each other, Jay was doing more health and Sade like relationships, and I was doing more straight like strategy business. And now it's interesting to me that all three of us in some way or another are now teaching people about God, really, about intuition, about God, about like connecting to like your deepest self and your deepest truth and your authenticity. I just find that fucking fascinating that's where it's all channeling. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I think one of the things that's really been on my heart in this area, in particular in the coaching industry, right? We don't have a lot of regulation. We don't have a lot of certification process kind of stuff. And, you know, we don't have a licensing board and there's nobody to report to. And there's some really beautiful things about that. And then there's also, you know, kind of the other side of that coin, which is I've noticed a lot of toxic positivity and a lot of manifestation practice stuff that just strikes me as all out dangerous. And you know, so for those of you who have been, you know, turned off from the coaching industry because of, you know, spiritual bypassing, toxic positivity, people telling you to stay high vibe, and that, you know, maybe you've looked at other, you know, embodiment mentors, or, you know, all of these fun and beautiful inventive ways we all have come up with, you know, to describe ourselves and to give ourselves our own titles and what have you, and have felt like, what is going on in here? What's happening in there? Is that there are those of us within the industry who are calling out, you know, our colleagues and saying, you know, that some of these practices are not okay. And particularly for, you know, my brothers and sisters, my people of color, who have felt marginalized by the coaching industry. I want you to know that like there are coaches out there who are not okay with what's going on. There are coaches who are white who are not okay with what is going on, and who want to see big change in this space, and who want to see accountability and anti-racism and social justice work roll out in a big way. Yeah, I think for any coach right now who's out there, there may be some coaches on here now, that like if you are not seeing any clients who are people of color, or you are very rarely of service to clients who are people of color, that like it's time to really look at that.
Yeah,
it's time to get clear on why they don't feel safe with you, and it's not just because your program's 10 grand and they can't afford it. That's not it.
It's actually not usually that at all. Yeah.
no,
Usually not that at all.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it's time to have a hard look at how this industry is participating in our culture, because it's the water we're swimming in. So unless one is doing anti-racism work, then one can expect that that's what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say that I have been doing anti-racism work for a long time, and I'm still looking at how many white people are in my studio and in my coaching business. So it's not something that you can just, and this is what I think the mistake that a lot of white people make is like they think that they can just take a course, flip a switch, and like put out a scholarship and then it's all good. And that's not how it is. It's just it's like a dedicated practice to create space, you know, and it requires a tremendous amount of humility, in my experience. Yeah.
My best friend is, you know, she would have me say she's Black. She's like, don't call me African American. And then she'd schooled me on that. She's like, why are you, you know, American and I'm African American? And I was like, oh, you know, so there's so many things that you don't know you're doing. And I love that what Kiki is saying is, so take a hard look in the mirror and notice what you're doing and notice the language you're using. And like, even I had an Indigenous client and I said Native American. And then I was like, wait a second, is it Indigenous? What would be the more respectful way? And she said, Indigenous woman. And I was like, thank you. Because I think that takes a lot of just like, you don't care how stupid you sound to ask the question of like, what would be the most respectful way to speak, you know, to you and about you, and like really learning about it and not thinking you know everything, because how the hell could you? So I think a lot of work happens online and also happens offline.
Yeah. And I appreciate that you're willing to ask those questions and willing to get uncomfortable. I think that's an important part of the story. But I brought all of this up because I would love to see more people of color get into the coaching industry. I would love to see more Black women take the mic and be like, yeah, this is for me. I'm going to get my piece of the pie. E-learning is projected to grow, but how much by next year? It's projected to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's booming. E-learning and the coaching industry is exploding across this nation, and I want to see people of color get their piece of the pie too. Like, I think it's absolutely critical, actually. And there's so many opportunities. There's something that each of us is brilliant in. All of us, all human beings, I believe, are all children of God. And we were each of us born with like a spark of divinity in us. And there's something that you can teach. There is something that you are good at that comes so naturally to you, you even forget that you're that damn good at baking those cookies or whatever it is. And there is something that can be shared, packaged, expressed, and sent out into the world that you can receive divine exchange for, compensation for, get out of debt, get out of the hustle and struggle, and let yourself be.
Yeah, totally. And I want to name that, you know, I was really hooking into something, I can't remember which one of you said it earlier, is like, just normalizing what it looks like. You know, we all three of us are moms. And we all started out like, I'm sure, making whatever we were making per hour per year, like
$1 an hour,
right? Not that much money. And here all of us are now, multi 6-figure earners, and really caring for our families, and being the breadwinner here. And I think what I want to say is like, it's interesting, like building a business in this, especially in this coaching industry. It's like, it's hard and it's easy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people who aren't in it, because there's a lot of puzzle pieces, really. Like putting together, I always teach like my people, like there's like 4 aspects. It's like the intuition, the strategy, the mindset, and really the alignment. And like when you have your hand in all of those pots, it's like it happens. But I think and so there's a lot of different factors, and yet it's not that complicated. Like what I've been fascinating on, and I want to say this for our audience who might be struggling with like not understanding, feeling like they're missing something, or feeling like it's just not quite coming together, is like the whole like strategy part is not that fucking complicated. It's like you just create an offer, like Jay was talking about earlier, that you feel super stoked about, and then you just like put it out there with some content and slap on a call to action. That's pretty much what all of us do.
I think though, but like, think back to when we were first learning how to do that. You like wrote on Facebook and it's like, hi, like I'm like, hi, I'm Jay, and I help you lose weight, 10 to 20 pounds on average in 90 days or less. It's like, apply to work with me. And like looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that was like a robot human. And then now, instead of saying like, like my title or whatever is gift activation coach, but I never even say that. I never even say that, because like, what does that matter anyway?
So have you found like it's more comfortable for you now? You just are like speaking what's on your mind.
Yeah, like that is still what I do, because like Sade was saying, like everyone has a gift, and like it can be so natural that you don't even know what it is. And that's like my thing is like, shooting into something that makes my ears perk up when you're talking. And I'm like, ooh, let's go hard there. So it still resonates, but like no one asks me what my title is. I think, does anyone ask you what your title is?
I just tell people, as you can see,
Yeah.
I just tell them all the time what my title is. Sade, like, can you speak to the hard yet easy parts about making money? Hard yet easy?
So I think one of the most important pieces for me to integrate so that I could live liberated was that I had an attachment to martyrdom and suffering and struggle as honorable. I have a very disabled younger brother. I started a nonprofit organization when I was like 9, and I watched people suffer and wanted to help and do something about it. And I was very activated by that. I'm going to be the advocate and speak up for the little guy or the person who couldn't, speak for themselves. So, even in my coaching, it was like, I was, after the heart of the father wounded daughter. So it's like still these, in some way to my mind, it was like, I'm still standing up for the victim. And, and wanted to support them and help them. So there was this difficult piece for me in asking for money. My first year of coaching without any support was me basically saying, what can you afford? And, doing $50 sessions for, college freshmen who were calling me from their dorm room, and really just trying to find a way to make a living from this really hodgepodge, pulled together, strategy that was like, I'm going to save the world and I'm going to help as many people as I can. And I actually had quite a bone to pick with wealthy women and who were charging big money, and was like, that's gross. I really needed help. And there was a part of me that wanted to help who I was. I wanted to be the voice that I needed when I was, a very broken young girl. And so there was this like entire rearranging thing that had to happen in order for me to be able to be of service and charge high ticket, so that I could then go back in a much bigger way. So and reclaim my community. So I was doing this like, piecemealing, burning myself out thing, doing one-on-one sessions, along the way, and getting so tired, instead of serving a small number of women at the high ticket level, and then allowing me to go back full force, high energized, having worked maximum 2 to 3 hours a day to go speak at high schools and colleges and be for them what I wanted to be in the first place. So it was actually serving at the high ticket level that set me free to go do what I wanted on a much bigger scale. The hard piece was my mentality, was really shaking free from martyrdom and savior complex. And stop thinking of my ideal clients as victims who needed a rescuer. Sure shit wasn't going to be me, as I found out the hard way. That was definitely the hardest part for me. And then as soon as I started letting it in and letting myself have my first $10,000 day, it just got so much easier. It just got so much easier. Each day was easier than before, and getting to get back into that high school, college space were just so igniting.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Jay, I'm curious if you could speak at all to like what your blocks were when you first entered into this space around money and around, you mentioned like you had a full-on panic attack, when you had your first 50K month, like. And so let's just acknowledge that it's not like it only happens when you're working towards your first 10K. There's kind of like freakouts at every level. But can you speak to like whatever your big blockages were? I'm sure you had them because we all do.
Oh my God, of course. And I was raised to save your money, save your money. And so I think investing was like the scariest part because it was so scary. But it was the first time I invested. I'm sure you guys feel like this too. It was like I rose, like, I came from a generation of low self-confidence within women, like my grandmother, my mom, my aunt. And so it was a generational low self-worth. And so investing that money and not telling anyone, not getting anyone's advice, and doing that was like, I took shackles and broke open, and I was like, fuck yeah, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. And it didn't even matter if I had made that money back. Just doing that was like, oh, you do believe in you. And then that is like kind of where it started. And then the money blocks, I mean, God, they're so different on every level. Like they're so different on every level. And you learn a lot along the way. You learn so I made this investment into this thing, and it was $20,000, and I had that money. I paid in full, and I was like, woo! And the ROI was supposed to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had talked to other people who did it. They were like, this is an amazing investment, and I've gotten maybe $1,000, and like it was a bad investment. And cutting the ties on that, being like, I put a year of effort into this. I put so much money into this, and doing that and being able to walk away and just be like, that's a loss. Like that's what I feel like I don't hear a lot about, is like the business losses, like the investments you make that don't work out. And when people talk about like, oh, 50K months, all that stuff, the part that the stuff I want to hear about more is like, I made 50K that month. I invested 20,000. That 20,000 ended up being Zip. And then the 10,000 went to, a virtual assistant, email, all the different expenses. But then, so I think you're like working through different things throughout the whole time. And then you're getting rid and clearing expenses you don't need to have a successful, thriving business. So like, I don't know if that really answered anything, but it's just like such a transition and transformation throughout the entire thing. And it like never ends.
No, never. Yeah. And I think a lot of people like, it's true. Like we don't, I don't really talk a lot about my offers that don't sell. I don't really talk about them, but I have them all the time. So can we just name that and normalize that? Is that like, I get my divine download and I follow the directions from spirit. And sometimes it's like nothing happens for a week.
It's not even, you see, because it's not a big deal though. Like, it's like, oh, that one didn't work out. Well, this one, you know? And so I think that's also part of it, is being okay with it not working out and not feeling like, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't sell 10 of those like I thought I would.
There's so much rejection in the success story. There is so much rejection, so much. Like, I posted when I landed my TED Talk. I didn't tell y'all that I was getting 3 rejections a week for a year, that I was pressing and that, forwarded, screenshot the rejections. Sorry, we regret to inform you, kind of stuff, because that's not how our culture is wired. But the truth is that training ground of, really kind of like lessening the sting for the word no is just like, that's cool, what's next? Like, it would be nice if our culture could start shifting this around a little bit, like that rejection is actually God's protection, or that just isn't for us, or that it's training,
or like rejection is teaching grit and teaching, like, if you want it bad enough, keep going.
Yeah, eye on the prize. Just like stay focused on the desire. That's what I always am like, oh, it's fine. And my latest prayer that I've been working with is like, because I've been having more and more like of a knowing of like financially what's coming in this month, like a feeling of knowing. And my prayer lately has just been like, well, I'm available. Entertain me, sacred one. I can't wait to see how this goes, because I'm available. And like, I feel like for me, one thing that shifted for me, I think you both will totally dig this, is that I don't like count up my leads anymore. I used to do this thing where I would have all these leads and these people ask me, I'd be like, oh, if I make that sale and then that'll make me to my goal. And I just stopped doing it. I just stopped doing it a few months ago. And now I just prepare to be surprised. Like, I'm like, this will come through. I wonder how. I'm prepared to be entertained. And there's something that shifted for me recently around the knowing inside, rather than the feeling of like panic growth. I know you know what I'm talking about. That feeling of like, I need to grow, and I'm in a panic all the time, about meeting my goals. And so, it's a process, it takes time. And I think a conscious intention to actually get to that place of, nervous system freedom. Was it one of you that wrote on Facebook today that like nervous system freedom is the new wealth? Somebody wrote that on my feed. Right. I like that. I was like, all right, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I feel like you wrote that.
I should have.
You should. That's like you. You probably wrote it and forgot you wrote it. But I swear, like, the more, maybe like the thing that people are doing that are not getting them to that next level is they're continually thinking, if I only had the right strategy, if I only had the right plan, if I was doing energy work 24/7, and it's really like in the small moments, what you're doing, like while I'm getting ready, I turn on Abraham Hicks and I listen to like a 14-minute, it's not even a meditation. It's like a conversation excerpt from one of her talks. And it puts me into a vibration that feels really good. And then that's just 14 minutes. And then if I find myself having this like thought that isn't going to get me anywhere, I go, no, we're not doing that today. And then I try to focus on something I can envision for 21 seconds. For just 21 seconds, and I envision it as long as I can, because about 5 seconds, it tries to go in a different route. And I'm like, no, go back to it. And so I do that like a few times a day. And then I do things for pleasure instead of like, I really should be reading that book. But what I want to read is a romance novel. Like, I think it's giving into pleasure more than thinking, oh, there's this list that these people have that I need. It's like, no, it's like, you guys know, it's embodying different things in your day that are small but make big changes.
Yeah, and bring you more meaning and pleasure, really.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, I think we got sold a story that we're sort of all deconditioning from, that like that we could suffer our way somewhere pleasurable, you know, that like the degree was going to be miserable, but then once we got the job that corresponded with the degree, then we would be free. And once and we got presented life in this very linear way, that we were going to go from first grade to second grade to third grade, and then we beat ourselves up when it seems like we're repeating some sort of lesson plan, and we're like, hey, I already got the degree, I already graduated from this, I can't believe I'm back learning this life lesson again, this is so infuriating. And then we beat ourselves up and feel ashamed. But,
yeah.
like, I learned that like I wasn't afraid of abandonment or afraid of running out of money. I was attached to being abandoned, and I was attached to running out of money and to redoing that again. Because life actually, for me anyway, has worked much more like a spiral, and I come back around to see the same things again. And just, it's up to me how fast I decide I want to go. And we can kick it right here in the holy shit, I think I just made a really big investment, and now I just got bam, 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 hit with 3 unexpected bills right after the big investment. And being terrified of that and being like, okay, do you want to stay here? Or we can go, or we can use the tools that you know how to use, and we can move through faster. So that's really what's been coming up for me recently.
Do you feel like every time you make a giant investment, like, and I don't know what it is, because I literally just had that same experience. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but like made a giant investment, and then it was back to back with like the same amount investment in bills. And I was like, why does that happen? Like, how come it can't be make the investment and then get that like money reward from outer space?
Let me know if you figure it out.
I will, because I feel like I've heard so many people say the same thing. They're like, I made this giant investment, and then my bathtub flooded my entire house. And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. And like how, and then that's the thing that's, I think, scary about being an entrepreneur is like, how do you stay, like, how do you back yourself? Like your intuition 2 weeks ago told you to make that investment. This week, it seems a little different and a little scarier because of like what has just come through, and like life is just happening and things happen. And like, how do you stay behind yourself? How do you back yourself 100%, even when you're scared, even when it doesn't make fucking sense, you know, even when everyone else in your life, if they actually knew what you were doing, would think you were crazy, like totally crazy. So I think that's to me, one of the most challenging things about being an entrepreneur is like backing myself when no one else would, if they actually knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Commitment. Well, I think that's the pleasure as medicine piece. Yeah. Commitment. I like that too. I'm going to show y'all where I am right now.
Yeah. And then she's talking about pleasure. Look at that. That is pure pleasure.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm in Maui right now. And I think that's been really one of the most empowering gifts for me as an entrepreneur, is to get to move when I want to move and to not feel trapped.
Yes.
You know, God bless those of us who want to work in that way, who want to work in a predetermined schedule.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make anybody wrong. If you feel safe and comfortable and at peace with the benefits and the container that a 9-to-5 can kind of hold for you, company culture, that can be really beautiful. It wasn't for me. I was sick and in pain. My body was like crying. It just felt like, you know, when somebody asks me like, why do you want to do this? It's like, I don't think I can do anything else. I don't think that my soul would let me. I think my body would just start breaking down and be like, guess what, girl? We don't work anymore.
No.
And so for those of you who know that like there's something more than this, and there's this gut feeling that shows up for you, and you're behind that computer in that cubicle, like, this isn't it. this isn't it. There was more for me. I want more for my children. And there's a part of you that breaks when you drop that baby off at daycare every morning an hour before, and you only get 30 minutes with her before she goes to bed at night, and you want more. Like, we want to stand for women to be free, to have financial freedom, to get to be home with their babies, and to get to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I
So-
want to name like build something that one of you talked about a moment ago is like, what if you could, instead of delaying gratification, you know, and like waiting until something happens or you make this certain amount of money per month or whatever it is, you meet your savings goal, and then you can kind of like come down and rest and feel at ease or at peace. Like, I think that's the miracle that I've seen the three of us and many of our coaching colleagues sort of embrace. Is like, what if you just made those decisions now to have a schedule where you're only working 3 hours a day or whatever it is, and where you have more than just a half an hour with your baby at night? And what if you just build your business based on that rather than building the revenue so that you can enjoy that? It's like, just enjoy it now, and then how about growing the business in a way that's actually sustainable for your health, for your family, for your sense of ease inside, you know? And I think that's pretty fucking radical. Just want to call everyone into that.
Yeah. There's so many things that are like flying through my head when you're talking, because I'm like, the only reason why we're able to teach this is because we were brought up in like society, or Sade was saying, a society that conditioned us to believe in productivity over flow. And we're the ones that took the bait for a little bit, and then it screwed us up. And we're like, I won't let any woman go down. And because I was down, I know how it feels. And you don't have to go down to go up. You can go up right from the beginning. And that's why we're probably so passionate about creating wealth that feels good for women to like step into a place of really empowering themselves, and empowering themselves to not have to check with anyone to invest money, empowering themselves to speak up for themselves so they don't develop thyroid disorders, empowering themselves to make good decisions that are for their soul and their entire body's safety, rather than just like, I think I should do this. You know, it's
so much of the work in the beginning is just getting in touch with your body to be able to feel it.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to shut it off.
Yeah.
We're told to sit down, don't move. You don't get to go potty when you have to go potty. 15 minutes till recess. You don't get to eat when you're hungry. Like, you have to wait until such and such time. We went through this like rote memorization, regurgitation process of learning, and like actually getting in touch with the body to be able to feel it, for me, just revealed all of these patterns and behaviors that showed up that I learned how to do to survive. I didn't feel like I even had a personality. It was just this, I created this version of me so that I could survive what had been presented to us as this was life and the path to success. And what I found underneath this was like this totally wild woman who's like, I don't know, I think my job description now is jungle priestess. Just lay outside in the garden.
Yes.
That's my new vibe.
Of course it is.
And like, that's what I'm saying about the title. It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have you jungle priestess woman. I'm like, I want to go hang out with her. Like, I want to be a jungle priestess.
That's good marketing, Sade.
That's so good.
Hells yeah. Amazing. Y'all, so I need to wrap it up because I have to create a lead magnet tonight before dinner. So that's what's happening. But I want to ask each one of us to speak, like, if you could say like one thing, like in the style of like pumping up your soul group, the people you are divinely assigned to that are totally fucking watching tonight, like what do you want to say to them today? What's your message for them today? I have nothing in my head. I just want you to know.
Size from everyone.
Breathing is good.
Breathing is good. What is my message to my beloved?
Oh, okay. When something feels like you should do it and everything's on board, don't miss the opportunity.
Mm, mm, mm. Jump on.
Jump on it.
Mhm.
I think my message is that there's enough room for you too.
Mm,
So I had a lot of story around that in the beginning, that things were saturated, it had already been done before. But we're such unique beings. And that's one of the most truly incredible things about us. Like this thumbprint, this lip print, this your ear is a unique design. Like that's so amazing.
So cool.
And and so whatever it is that you do that you feel like there is already too much of it out in the world, I just want you to know that can't nobody do it like you do. You're one of a kind.
yeah.
And so if there's something that is on your heart and you go to bed thinking about it and you wake up dreaming about it and there's a little piece of you that wants to put babies in buckets and take pictures of them, just do it. Just do it. Whatever it is.
And Gettys.
Yeah. And whoever else wants to do that.
Right. There's room. There's room for all the
There's
photographers
room.
who wants to take pictures of babies in buckets. I think my message tonight is about, to my people, is that your business, there will come a day where it's not so fucking mystifying if you keep going. And if you get the support that you feel drawn to along the way, is that it's not actually that mystifying. It's not like, I know for me as a baby entrepreneur, it was so overwhelming. There was so much to learn. I just thought I would never come to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep making moves and like taking new action, you will get new results. I think the key is to take new action from that has been guided to you from your intuition, instead of that's been told you what you should do. Like, this is what you should do, or this is what you have to do. And that's really bringing it back to being in your body, because you can't feel your intuition if you can't feel, because intuition is a body feeling, so it all comes back to like giving yourself the body supports, the nervous system supports that allow you to make these fucking courageous moves, and to really like claim the dream of your life. But there does come a day, if you are a spiritual entrepreneur like us, where even though it is mysterious, it's not mystifying. It's still mysterious, but it's not mystifying anymore. It's like, yeah, okay, this is how we do it. And like, yes, we'll fumble along the way, but there will, at the end of the year, it's going to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great.
Can we purr again? Oh my God. All right. Well, we love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, many blessings for tonight. Thank you, beloveds. Love you so much.
Aloha, Sade.
Aloha.
Bye, everybody.